Well, hello out there. Happy Saturday to those of you that are here live, and to those of you who are watching this on a replay. Hey, hey. Great to have you here. And my camera's doing that thing it does where it decides to be really like sideways. So give me a second to just do a micro adjustment. If you are here, I'd love to see in the chat, just say hello and let me know that you're out there. Today is Saturday, April 6th, and I'm going to be talking. Today is letter F day. So this is the ABCs of me. My name is Kiala Givehand, and this is a series that I've started in order to reconnect to being here on YouTube. I don't know where it's going to go. I know that I am going to commit, though, to the full month. I'm going to show up here every day and talk about the things that I love, the things that I've been doing in my life since I started this channel in 2012, which even when I say that, it blows my mind, right? So I'm just, I am just trying to see where I want to take this channel, what I want to do here, and I'm just going to play it by ear. So I said that today I'm not going over 90 minutes. All right, so I'm going to do my best to be succinct, to stay in alignment with what I said I was going to talk about. I am going to answer a couple questions. I'm going to show a whole lot of fountain pens. We're going to talk about fabric books. And if I am fast enough, probably won't be, we might even start working on a fabric book. So welcome to my channel. This is a crazy series that I've decided to do called the ABCs of Me, where I am going through the letters of the alphabet and sharing the things that I love. Today is letter F. And so I'm just going to do a quick list here to try to keep myself on track. Obviously, if you're new to me, then hello, welcome. My name is Kiala. I love fountain pens. So fountain pens will be first. I'm also going to talk about fabric books because I'm also a bookbinder and book artist. Let's talk about, so maybe also we'll talk about some different structures. Like I'll show some French link journals. That's one of my favorite bookbinding structures and systems. Structures to use is the French link. It's like once you get the hang of it and the pattern of it is such a beautiful stitch, and it's one of the stitches that allows your books to open flat. And it's so versatile. You can have an exposed spine or you can cover the spine. It's a lovely book, and I love French link. If I had to make a book under duress, I would probably make a French link because I just know I just know what to do. It's one of those that I've committed to like muscle memory at this point. So French link books, fabric books. I will let's see. I'll show a few flower fold books. Maybe a couple of flexagons. Maybe a fan book. And maybe a French door book. Oh, there's a lot of them that start with F's, huh? French door books. What else do I see here? I'm just looking at a little list I started. And then maybe we'll talk a little bit about flaps and flip outs. I love a good flap and a good flip out in my journals. What else? Maybe we'll talk about faces and French knots. Not a lot. Okay, that feels like a good amount to try to get through in 90 minutes because I could spend 30 hours talking about just fountain pens. So in order to narrow down the whole fountain pen conversation, I did say, okay, I'm going to start with my favorites and go from there, because we are going to revisit fountain pens again on letter I day when I talk about inks and fountain pen inks. So there will be another fountain pen conversation coming up. So I'll try to be succinct as best I can today. All right, so I realized that yesterday nobody reminded me that we didn't pull a card. We didn't pull anything. So I thought we might, let's pull a, let me see, let's find a deck. I'm looking for one that maybe I have. Oh, let's just find something easy. Oh, it's letter F day. Let's pull from the Flow Tarot. That's one of my favorites. The Flow Tarot. Let's start with that. This deck was made by one of my community members, core teachers in my Pull Pen Paint program. Her name is Rachel Torta. And she made this deck in response to me saying, I cannot find a deck. We were working through the elements that particular year, and each element I was saying, okay, for our earth element, we're going to work with this deck. For our air element, this deck. Like I had a deck for each of the elements, and I could not find a good water deck that I liked, that didn't have mermaids in it and didn't have all the, right? So Rachel set out, gave herself the task. She didn't even tell me she was doing it. And then one day she was like, I think I have an idea. I think I'm onto something. And she showed me what she had been working on. And I was like, oh my God, keep going. It's so good. And so then she spent a good amount of time. I say a good amount of time. It was actually pretty fast in relationship to like creating a whole deck from scratch. I think it was like 22 days from conception of the idea to actually having the deck in her hands. That's pretty darn fast, actually. It's like under 30 days. So it was pretty amazing. And so she brought this deck into the world, and it's lovely. I love the Flow Tarot. Okay, so it's a deck all about the water element. There are no people in it. It's just all about water. And so, yeah, Flow Tarot. So we're going to pull from this. The images in it. I'll show you some images in it after we get a card for us. What do we need to bring our awareness to for this time together today? What do we need to bring our awareness to? If you are somebody out there who owns a copy of the Flow Tarot, type it in the chat. Let me know. Oh, I'm seeing the chat finally pop up. That's so crazy. Hi, Linda. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Deidre. Hi, Damon. If you have a copy of the Flow Tarot, let me know. I'm going to do a little shuffling here. This is one of my favorite decks. I love it so much. And what I love that Rachel did is she made this deck very beginner friendly, right? So if you're new to tarot, it also kind of acts as an oracle because she has put oracle style words on each of the cards as well. Rachel did a ton of research about water, about how water interacts with the earth, with the air, with the with fire. Like she did so much research on this, and it just shows in the deck. Like it's really beautiful. So let's pull a card for what we need to bring our awareness to today. Ooh, I love it. You can't make it up. That's the perfect one. First, before I even look at the word, I look at what I see here on the card, and I see this beautiful spiral, which for me in my world is a symbol of creativity. And I love this so much. So much. Okay, but the word on here, 7 of waves. Waves in this is wands. So the 7 of wands, essentially. And the word she has is endure. Now, did we not just talk about endurance yesterday on letter E, day? This is the kind of synchronicities that you just cannot make up, y'all. So we talked about endurance yesterday. We talked about this idea of just continuing to show up, continuing to do the thing you say you want to do, especially endurance as it relates to being an entrepreneur, for those of you that are in business, but also as it relates to being a creative. And this is why I'm like, you can't make this up. In the tarot, the waves, for this deck, it's waves, but it's wands. It maps to the wands. The wands in tarot are the fire element. We're sitting in the energy of fire right now in Aries. Like this, all the synchronicities. I love it. Y'all get to see me geek out on the synchronicities and the symbology. So you've got, we're sitting in fire energy because we're in Aries. The sun is in Aries. We've got, in tarot, fire is wands, and they're all about ambition, excitement, action, movement, our creative endeavors, that creative spark. Like, think of magic wands, right? And so the 7 of waves, or the 7 of wands, is this beautiful energy of really that, of like, stay the course, keep enduring. You're almost to completion. When you get to 9, you're at that completion point. So just keep going, continue to endure. Don't give up when you get that 7 of wands. So I love that we got this card. So, so good. So good. And that little spiral is all I needed to see. Even if I didn't look at the words down here, that spiral would have been enough for me. Okay. So I'm going to sit that right here in front of me so I can keep it front and center. Again, that's from the Flow Tarot by Rachel Torda. And you can, Rachel goes by the Dreaming Lotus all over the internet, so you can probably find her that way. All right, so fountain pens. I was thinking, how do I, someone who has, we're just going to say over 100, we're not going to name a number, we're just going to say over 100 fountain pens. How do I wrangle this in for people? How do I don't know. So I thought, okay, best thing to do, start with my favorites. Okay, so I thought I would start with my favorites. And as I say that, give me a moment here. I'm going to pull out another container. So I started collecting pens in general when I was probably about 16 going on 17. I might have not been quite 17 yet. And I mean, I always loved pens. I told y'all the other day, I was like the kid who cared more about getting new school supplies than getting new school clothes. I wanted all the fancy books. I wanted to have tons of notebooks. I wanted to have colorful notebooks. I wanted all the pens and all the little stationery, the paper clips and the fancy little cute staplers and the fun erasers on my pencils. Like, I was that kid. Okay. Oh, I love it, Deidre, that card was synchronicity for you too. Yes. Awesome. So I was that kid who wanted all of those things. And so my mother indulged me to a certain point. And then I got my first job. And I used to literally, and I didn't know this at the time, but I can look back now and say, so I had a car way earlier than anybody's supposed to have a car. I had a car. I was driving on my own. I had my own car at like 15. Yes, I know I didn't have a full license yet, but I had been driving since I was 13. My father was a driver's ed teacher. And on Saturdays, he would take me with him when he was teaching driver's ed on Saturdays. He would take me with him to the driver's ed course. And he would let me drive around in the empty car on the back portion of the lot where there were no people, there was nothing, right? Now, of course, he had taught me how to drive. So, but I was 12, 13 years old. I wasn't supposed to be driving, but I had been driving, since that time. So anyway, then I had an aunt, my father's aunt, so my great aunt, she would let me drive her car. So I had, and my mama would let me drive. So I drove a lot. And I had a car pretty early on, and I would go to places like Office Depot or whatever the office supply store was called back then. I'm pretty sure it was an Office Depot. And I would just walk around in there looking at pens. And they had these pens that were in a case that you couldn't touch. And I said, when I get my first job, I'm going to buy myself one of those pens. I asked my mother if she would buy me a pen. And when she saw that the pen was $40, she was like, are you out of your mind? I will buy you a 50-cent Bic pen. I'm not buying you a $40 pen. And in my 15, 16-year-old mind, I didn't understand why not. What's the problem? You buy me $40 shoes. Why can't you buy me a $40 pen? So I had to work for it. I had to work my way into it. And I do think that she did help me at some point, with it. But I think I did buy my first one by myself. And I actually have it here. I'll see if I can dig it up at some point in this 30 days. Because it wasn't a fountain pen. It was a roller ball. And I went there and I tested that pen out like once a week for like 30 days, for like 3 or 4 months. I kept going back and I would test that. I would say, can I just write with that pen? And I would test it and I would write with it. And it wasn't like a roller. It wasn't like a ballpoint pen. It just slid across the paper. And I thought that was so like powerful. I was like, how is this possible? What kind of magic is this? So fast forward, I did eventually get the pen. And that started a whole thing because every pen after that had to be as good or better than that pen. That pen set the standard for every pen after it. And my very first fountain pen, the first time I ever saw a fountain pen, I had an English teacher. Her name was Mrs. Inquist. And she was my, I would like to call her my champion in high school. I had her twice. I had her in 9th grade and I had her again in 11th grade. And she saw in me things that I didn't know were there. She saw that I could be a really good writer and she really nurtured that in me. She was like my mom away from home kind of thing. She would let me sit in her classroom. She knew I was struggling with attention stuff. And this was even before I was like diagnosed with ADD, ADHD at the time. She just knew, it's like she knew something. She knew I was searching for something, struggling with things. And she would always find little things for me to do, like, Kyla, come and help me set up this for my next class, or come have lunch with me and let's talk about your paper that you did. Or like, she just always really kind of took me under her wing. She also was my homeroom teacher one year. So that's like the teacher you see at the very beginning of the day. So she just really paid attention to me and noticed the things. She was also a lot like my mom in that like my mother was the kind of woman that was very, and still is, she didn't leave the house if she wasn't like put together, right? Every hair was in place. Her clothes were impeccable. Right? Like my mom was like that when I was younger. At least that's how I saw her, through my eyes. And Miss Inquist was like that as well. I mean, her clothes were always perfectly pressed and they were always very coordinated and her shoes matched her, right? Like she just was, I don't know, she just had this sort of energy about her. And when she read to us in class, like it was just something about her. She used the fountain pen. She always had a fountain pen. And I remember sitting in her classroom one day, just the two of us, and we were having lunch together, and she put her pen down on the table. And I said, would it be okay if I tried your pen? And she looked at me and she said, Kyla, I don't typically let other people use my pens. They're very special to me. And in my mind, I was like, what? Why is it so special? I had a whole thing. So this woman is the reason I think that I fell in love with fountain pens. So she unscrewed it and she took her time. She it was like so delicate. I don't have she just, and she took her time and she slowly unwound it. And then she, just took her time. It was so delicate and so slow. And then she handed it to me kind of like this. It was just like a ceremony that happened between me and her. And so from that point forward, I was just hooked on fountain pens. Okay. But of course, at that time, fountain pens were like out of my reach. So I didn't ever get a fountain pen in that moment. Fast forward to 11th grade, she encouraged me to go into dual enrollment. And dual enrollment is when you're in high school, but you're taking college level classes. So she had me taking college level English, even though I was in the 11th grade. So 11th and 12th grade, by the time I graduated high school, I already had 4 credits in my English, college level English, because I took dual enrollment. So because of that, I would come back to, when I was at school, I'd come and check in with her because she was still my teacher of record because, high school. So I would have to have meetings with her and all the things. And when I graduated from high school, she gave me a fountain pen and I still have it. I don't know if it's kind of special, so I don't actually keep it in rotation. I don't think I know it's not in either of these. I have to see if I can pull it up. It's my Schaefer. It's a Schaefer pen. And it still writes beautifully. It's still exquisite. I love it. And that started a whole thing for me. So fast forward to today. Well, no, let's not fast forward to today. Let's fast forward to teaching. I had maybe 3 fountain pens by the time I became a teacher. So fast forward through college. I was the kid in college writing with a fountain pen. I had the whole thing, and I cherished that fountain pen. Fast forward to my first year of teaching middle school, I had a student who was Brazilian in my class, and her family went on a trip one year, and she came back with this fountain pen as a gift for me. And it was a Lamy. I had never heard of Lamy. I didn't know anything about it. So this would have been 1996. Okay. And this student came back and she gave me this. And when I tell you that I almost came to tears, and I'm not a teary person, I definitely wasn't a teary person then. But she gifted me this pen and I have held on to this. I love it so much. I'm not a fan of blue, but this was my first Lamy Safari. So she gave me this pen and I fell in love with it. Okay. I fell in love with Lamys from that day forward. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be collecting these pens to the day I die. And so I started collecting Lamys, and I have a few of them, as you can see. So Lamy Safaris, this whole set and up to here. These are all Lamy Safaris. And I have a few that aren't in here. More than a few. We'll just bring out 2, right? So, okay. So I have a lot of Lamys. I've got probably 2 more down beneath my feet over here. These are Lamy, what we call Lamy AL for aluminum. They're made with aluminum, and so they're a harder case. This one is a Lamy rollerball. You can tell the difference because it doesn't have the ink window for you to see your ink. Right? But it's a rollerball. I don't even have a rollerball thing in it because I don't really use it very much. So I should probably bring it back into rotation, huh? So these are all these 3 are made of aluminum. So this is a part of my Lamy. So what I love about Lamy Safaris, they're very light, but they have a good weight. When they're posted, when you put the cap on and post it, they have a really good weight. And they're I call them a good workhorse pen because you can write with them for a long time without hand fatigue. Some pens, when they're too heavy, your hand can get tired writing with them. I can write for hours with the Lamy Safari because it's a very light pen. It doesn't get heavy. Lamy does this thing where every year they release a special edition of the pen and of their pens. And so recently, in the last, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years, they've been doing 2 limited editions per release, which is like crazy pants. Like, stop doing this to us. But I do have, I have 2 that are kind of what people would call sort of rare limited editions. This one that is called the Flame because it's an orange body with a red clip on the cap. It's called the Flame. And I change my nibs out a lot, so I don't trust my nib. Like, I don't want you to look at my nib and go, oh, it should have a black nib. That may or may not be true. I switch my nibs out all the time. So I can't remember if this flame originally came with a silver, I think it would probably be called more like rhodium uh, nib, or a black one. But I like it with the black nib, so I put the black nib on it. And then I have another one that is the turquoise, that in this moment, I can't even tell you where it is, but it's somewhere around here, that is called the Smurf. I think people call it the Smurf edition, because it's like a teal blue with a red cap clip on it. Then they started making for a long time, all Lamy safaris were very shiny like this. I don't know if y'all can see, right? See how it's kind of shiny? It's a shinier pen. Now they have been making pens that are more matte. You can kind of see the difference here. The matte ones don't have that glossiness to them, and they have a little bit of texture. Like this one is, I think this one was called terracotta. I can't remember the name of this one, the color. I call it army green. I'm pretty sure that's not what they call it. But. So I do collect Lamy. It's one of the pens that I collect religiously. Even when I go on a pen diet where I'm not buying a lot of pens, I still will buy my special edition Lamy for that year. Okay. That's just a must-have. I can't not do that. All right, so my Lamys are a really big part. There's also one Lamy that I don't have in here. The Lamy Vista is a clear Lamy. And now I'm sitting looking around, I'm like, where are my darn pens? Where are the ones I'm speaking about but not showing y'all? Hold on one second. I'm going to just look. Oh, I know I have. Let's see if I have any in this little case here. Sometimes I do. No Lamys in that one. Y'all, I have 1,001 pen rolls, 1,001 pen containers and bags and all sorts of things. So I don't always know where things are. Hold on. Yeah, so clear, I don't know where my clear Lamy is. These are 3 that I have that I haven't even inked. They've never even been inked. Don't judge me. Do not judge it. But it's time for them to come up into rotation. This is the strawberry, I think, and cream. I think they came out as a pair, strawberries and cream kind of thing. This one is aqua, I think, the aqua pen. And this idea of doing like a full body, everything's the same color. Like, I really like that a lot. So Lamys, I like them too, because they're under $50. They're like $30, $30, $35 at the most. Even the limited edition ones are not super pricey, right? I think the most I've ever paid for a limited edition is $40. So they're an inexpensive pen. They're a workhorse pen. And for me, a workhorse pen means you can write with it a really long time without getting hand fatigue. It means that the nib is a really good nib. It also means that when you go to write with the pen, it just writes. It's not a lot of stopping, starting to get it charged. It just starts writing, no matter how long you've had it waiting for you. And you can get a lot of different nibs and nib sizes. Let's see. Oh, I'm going to need glasses for this part. Hang on. I'm going to pull out my little magnifying glass. That's a medium nib. So you can kind of see. So that's a medium nib. I don't know which one of these has my... I also like Lamy because they have a push cap. It's not a twist cap. And I like that a lot. This is a, that's a fine nib. So they have everything from extra fine nibs to have extra fine, fine, medium, bold, 1.5, and I think they have a 1. Okay, they have a 1.1. This is a 1.1 nib. So it's going to be more calligraphic, like it's more calligraphy nib. So I really love that about it. And I'm sure one of these down this line has a 1.5 or 1.9 on it as well. So they have a lot of different nibs, and they're very easy to change the nibs out. I also love that. So for me, all of those things make Lamy like, if somebody said you can only buy one pen from now going forward for the rest of your days, I would be very sad, first of all, but also it would be my Safari. I would stick with the Lamy Safari. It's mine. And it's probably just because I've been collecting them for so long. All right, I'm not finding a nib that I wanted to show you. Probably have it on my sketching pens at this point. Yep. Okay, so lots of Lamys. They are an easy entry point pen, beginner friendly, fun colors. And I think personally for fountain pens that are really good, that write the way these write, a really good price point. Okay. Now also, this is years of collecting, y'all. This is not just, I went out and bought all of these at once. This is years of collecting Lamys. So I want to name that as well. And I probably need to update my case because I've run out of space in this one for all the Lamys. All right, so my second favorite pen, I'm going to pause here. I'm going to take a sip of water and answer some things I see in the chat. Teacher says, my grandmother was also a true Southern lady, in quotation marks. I like that. With the perfect dress, jewelry, and shoes to match. She was the publicly elected district clerk in a traditionally man's world for 42 years. Wow. Wow, I bet she had some stories to tell, your grandma. She said, I spent my summers with her in Texas, and she bought me my first fountain pen that I'd been trying out every week at the gift store on the square across from the courthouse. Deidre, are we the same person? We must be the same person. But only after I practiced my script penmanship every day for 2 months. I didn't even know she knew how much I coveted that pen. The benefits of a small town where everyone knew her. I love that. I love that so much. I love hearing good stories like that. So good. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. I love the synchronicities too, right? Okay. My second favorite, and something I think is also very beginner friendly, I would actually put it more intermediate friendly, adventurous beginner. That's what I'm going to call it. My next one is an adventurous beginner pen. And these are my TWSBIs. They're not going to stay open for me. All right, this pen case I really love too. This is Galen leather. I really like their stuff. Okay, but it doesn't want to lay flat for me, so let's do it like this. This one should be here. The TWSBI Eco. Again, fun colors, good workhorse pen, lightweight, really great nibs, exchangeable nibs you can change out. You know what? I take that back. Can you change these nibs out easily? It is a twist. It's not a push cap. It is a twist cap. Adventurous beginners can change the nib. Let's say that. And the reason I call this an adventurous beginner pen is because it is a piston fill pen. It's a piston filler. And that means it does not take, this one doesn't have a cartridge in it. So it doesn't take, so when you take the Lamys off, this is called a converter. You can put the converter in, and then you get to fill this with whatever ink you want to fill it with. Okay. Also, the other option for filling pens is to use, I'll just use this one. I haven't inked it yet, but to use what is called a cartridge, right? So the standard way you fill pens are with a cartridge or a converter, all right? So the cartridges, you have to go with whatever ink is in the cartridge. In a converter like this, you get to put whatever ink you want to put in it, okay? And then you have what is called a piston filler system, where the body of the pen holds the ink. There is no cartridge, there is no converter. So all of the ink in this pen is in the body of the pen. And all of these probably need to be refilled at this point, but you can kind of see, right? The ink is in the body of the pen. And as the pen, I don't have any that aren't. As the ink starts to get low, you can just twist this. I probably should not be doing that with the cap on. And not without something under me. Because ink will gush out. So then, yes, you just move this. When you're filling it, you draw the ink in. And then when it starts to get low and you need to push it up a little bit, you can use this to do that. So I call these adventurous beginner pens because that's really easy. I mean, it's the same motion. It's the same motion you're going to do with a converter, right? You're going to twist to bring it all the way back and all the way up. Like that's how you're going to twist it all the way forward, dip it into ink, twist, twist, twist to get the ink to draw up. And that's the same motion you're doing here. So it's not that it's that much difficult. It's just different. And so a lot of people shy away from a piston filler pen, but I really love the TWSBIs. And so there's that. I do have a few more TWSBIs somewhere. My favorite one is my Eco White. I write with this one all the time. This is my favorite one for whatever reason. But they also come in a lot of fun colors, and they often do a new color release. Like I think their most recent one that I don't have is the Indigo Rose Gold. They did one that was an indigo color with a rose gold cap and a rose gold something else on it. So I really love TWSBI for that reason. They have really great nibs. I think this one. They also, like Safari, have nibs that are, oh, that's got a lot. That's got nibs that are different. This one is, I want to say that's probably a 1 point, maybe a 1.5 on that. So it's going to have more of a squared off edge. So when you write with it, your writing looks a little bit different because you've got that calligraphy style nib on there. So TWSBI and Lamy to me are very comparable, also comparable in price. The price isn't that much more. Maybe a few dollars here or there, depending on where you buy it from, shipping, all of that stuff. But TWSBIs and Lamys to me are right there together. The only difference is how you fill them. So those are my TWSBIs. And then I said I was just going to do my top 3. And this is, the top 3 are easy. Franklin-Christoph. Hey, Amanda. Good to see you. I love it. Yeah. Oh, that's funny, Deidre. You said, sometimes I feel I'm a morph of you and Tiffany. I love it. Then the 3 of us are in good company with each other. I love that. Hi, Barbados in the house. I love it. I'm so glad you're here, Amanda. I haven't connected with you in a while, and I'm really happy to see you here. Thank you for being here. Okay, so let's talk Franklin-Christoph. Now, before I open this container, before I open this Pandora's box, let me say a few things. I did not begin my pen collecting days with Franklin-Christoph. In the grand scheme of pen collecting, They are at the lower price point. I just want to name that. They are a higher price point than the two I've shown you, probably 3 times more, but they are well worth it. They are exquisitely crafted. They are not mass produced. They create them in small batches. They work with other small pen companies. I'll say pen companies. It's not really pen companies. They work with other artisan pen crafters. That's a better way to say it. To get their materials that they use for their pen. This is a company that has been around for a really long time. It's family owned. I've met them. Hi, Scott, if you somehow happen upon this video. But they are one of my favorite brands. And I cannot say enough good things about them, about their customer service, about their meeting them in person was like a gift. And I've met them in person lots of times. At this point, I come up to the tent. They're like, "Hey, Kiala," because I love their pens and I collect their pens. This is also a pen case that is made by Franklin-Christoph. It is their pen case specific to their company. There's their little logo on it. And this is what I mean, like just exquisite craftsmanship. All right, so let's look at a peek. I needed to name all of that before I open this case and start talking about these pens, because I don't want anybody to go looking at Franklin-Christoph and get sticker shock and be like, "Kiala, how dare you jump from a $30 pen to a $100 pen?" So a little bit more. All right. So this is my current collection of Franklin-Christoph pens. I have some spaces to fill, but also I have some pens that are not in here that are currently being written with on a daily basis. What I love about their pens, and I'm just going to move this to the side and then I'll show a few of them. Oh, I have to say too, what I love about this case makes me so happy. Like, I think it can hold 49 pens, but these little sleeves pull out. Right, and then your pens are, so like you can't see all of the ones that are in there because some of them are shorties. Push them up to the top there. But so I can just take this out and just have, okay, I'm gonna work with these today, right? So I love, again, they are pen users, fountain pen users and lovers, so they create the products they want to use, and they never fail me. I mean, just their pens are amazing. Okay, so with all of that said, I will start with the first pens I started to buy from them. I'm not going to go through all my pens, but this was one of the first ones. So this little guy was the very first one that I bought from them. And the reason I bought it is because, yes, it can take a cartridge converter thing. I mean, I don't think it can take a cartridge, but it can take a tiny little cartridge, not a converter. Although Kaweco has some tiny little converters that could fit, but they're meant to be what we call eyedropper pens. All right, so this again would be a little more on the advanced side. I would say intermediate, not so much advanced, because all you're going to do is grab a bottle of ink, stick an eyedropper in it, suck up the ink, unscrew the pen from the body, drop that ink in there. Put a little bit of silicone grease on there, just a tiny bit. Screw that pen back together, and then you have 10 times the amount of ink you could ever get in a cartridge. It takes the full width of this, takes ink. And this is the kind of pen for people who like to have a lot of ink. They write a lot. They don't like running out of ink and having to change it a lot. A lot of considerations you have to take into account when you travel. Now this pen, you're seeing a lot of staining. I used an ink that was a very staining ink, but this pen typically is all clear. So, and I don't think that was, I keep saying that was the first one that I bought from them. I actually don't think it was. I think, nope, it was this one actually. Yep. So this one is what they call their Coke bottle pen. Do y'all remember old school Coke bottles that had that green tint to them? I don't know if it's coming across very good on the camera, but this is, it's not glass. It's not actually made of glass, but it's made out of a clear resin that has a green tint to it. And so people dubbed this pen the Coke bottle pen. And so this was actually my very first pen that I bought from them. And they have some amazing nibs. This one is actually, I don't even, the name of it escapes me in this moment, but they use what's called high performance steel nibs. And then they have a master nib tuner that works with them and does these amazing grinds, or I guess he's called a nib grinder. He does these amazing grinds on the nib that literally changes the way you write with the pen, changes the way your penmanship looks. Like, I'm not even at that level, y'all. I have one of them, and I have it because at a pen show, I was like, okay, I have all of these other nibs. What's the next nib I should get? And Scott was like, you need to get this one. Try this one. So I did. I got it. And I love it. It actually is really beautiful. So Franklin-Christoph, they have different models, as you might be able to tell here. You can see the different sizes. They have all sorts of colors that they do. When you go to fountain pen shows with them, you get to see what they call the IPO. And that stands for something that I cannot think of in this moment. Initial product offering. I can't remember, but it's like a prototype. They're like, we don't know if we're going to make this one forever. We're going to try it out and see what people think, if people like it. So it's that kind of thing. So they have different models of their pens, and sometimes you get really interesting combinations of colors. This is one of my favorites. It has this sparkly, I don't know if y'all can see the sparkle. It's like, they call it diamond cast. It's got these sparkles in it. Look at that. Ooh, love it. So Franklin-Christoph is I think this color is my favorite color of all their pens. I have like 4 pens in this color, different models, but very much the same pen color. All right, I'm going to put some of these back. Now I'm going to, last with Franklin-Christoph, I'm going to show you my absolute favorite model that they make, that even though I have all of these different ones I've just shown you, at this point in my journey with Franklin-Christoph, I tend to only buy the model I'm about to show you. It's my favorite. Oh, I love it. It is the Model 02. And I have it in that Coke bottle color. And then I went to one of their, well, not their pen shows, but I went to a pen show where they were you know, they are selling pens. And I bought, is it this one? Hold on. There's one that I call the Coke, the Cherry Coke. I named it that. They didn't name it that. Oh, darn. It must be, no, I think this might be it. Nope. I don't know. Now I'm going, is this the one I'm thinking about? That's the Venetian glass. This one I call Cherries and Cream, because it's like a red. So yeah. So anyway, this is a Model 02. So let's talk about the Model 02 and why the Model 02 is my favorite. It's my favorite because I like this feature of it. Let me find one that maybe you will be able to see a little better. I like the feature of this tapered in, because when the pen sits in the cap with this tapered in, it sits low in the cap. I'll do that again. It fully goes, that whole body, end of that body goes into the cap because it has this graduated body. And so then the pen becomes, instead of the pen being way out here at the end of the pen, it shortens it and it gives it this beautiful, it is like perfectly weighted. I can't describe it. You have to hold it in your hands to understand what I'm saying. But if you're a fountain pen lover, you know what I mean when I say something is perfectly weighted. It's not top heavy. It's not heavy down here. It's just perfectly weighted throughout the body of the pen. That takes craftsmanship. that is not by accident. That takes like perfecting your process. So the Model 02 is my favorite of theirs, and I have several of them at this point. Because every time I go, I'm like, okay, I mean, once you know what you love about a pen, I don't, well, I can't speak for anybody else. Once I know what I love about a pen, a particular brand, a particular style of pen, a particular model, I don't actually need to look around at others. Like, I'm just like, okay, let me just get a new color of the one that I already love. So I do have some of their other pen models, but my collection is made up mostly of that pen. This is another, if you like really big fat pens, they have a Model 31. I feel like I'm doing a commercial for them. I'm not an affiliate. I don't get any kickback. I'm just telling y'all what I love. This Model 31 is a really, and you can again see, I can't remember. I think this might be a 1.9. I want to say this is a 1.9 nib, but you can see how squared off that nib is. Like, it's a really, you're going to get a really juicy bold line with that. So this is a Model 31, not really meant to be, I personally feel not really meant for the cap to be posted, because then it makes it heavy on this end of the pen. But it's a really nice fit in the hand. You don't really need the cap on it. You just hold the cap and but this is the Model 30. Listen, y'all, I work for them. Is that really the model I'm looking at? Is this really the 31? Hold on. They have everything inscribed on the body of their pens. I think it's a 31. We're going to call it that. And then they have all sorts, but I want to show you pencils. They also make a pencil. Some might say it's just a lead holder, like, you know, but it holds, you know, this is a really thick lead that it holds. So they do have pencils. I think I have a couple of their pencils. This was the original. I have one of the original IPO ones. So they do make these pencils that are really great, especially for our sketchers among us. This one, I should probably be writing with this pen today and tomorrow. This pen, I can't remember the number, maybe 19, Model 19. I can't remember. But the name of it is the Eclipse. Here's what I love about it. This little cap is meant to slide right on this while you write with it. I just think that's, like, to me, little attention to detail like that. I just love that. I'm a sucker for it. So I love it. So this is I should probably take this out and be writing with this, especially since it's red. We got a fiery energy happening in the world, and then we got that eclipse. Okay. And then last but not least, in their brand, I will show, is it this one? Nope. I have a couple other models, but there's one other that I think is pretty cool in their collection. Is it this one? Oh, nope, not that one. Well, darn. I know it has a black cap. Hold, please. Searching. Oh, it has to be this one. Yeah, I think it is this one. Model 20. It's the only one of their models where it is a push cap. It's not a twist. And that's actually, I think, a testimony to their craftsmanship, because that's actually kind of a difficult thing to accomplish, to get a pen that does that without having like massive machines and all the things. So I like their Model 20 for that reason. It's the only one that is so I have started collecting more of these because I like a pen that I can just quickly push the thing off and start writing, versus having to do a lot of twisting to get it off. Okay, so that's Franklin-Christoph. I will stop there so I can spend a little bit of time talking about fabric books. If you all have questions about pens, please ask. I'm happy to talk pens anytime, any day. Oh, sorry, I do have to show one other, two other pens from there. Now, I have, because I want to be honest with you all, I have to say there's one of their pen models that is not my favorite. It's like my least favorite. I own one of them. and it was the IPO. This is the Model 50, and it's called, oh, Grandiose, I don't know. Don't quote me on the name, but it's the Model 50. It's huge. First of all, let's just look at it in comparison to a regular, say, pencil, like a regular mechanical pencil. Okay, so you can see the, all right. Here's a micron pen to give you another. I know a lot of y'all use micron pens, so you can see it there with the micron pen. All right, it's a huge pen. It's huge. It has this interesting sort of piece on the end here. It's a twist cap, but it's a quick twist. What I call a quick twist. It's like 1, 2, 3, and you're off. Right? Like, to me, there's some pens where I'm like twisting for days to get the cap off. So it's a quick twist. It's just 3 and it's there. Not meant to be posted. Not meant for you to post the pen on the cap on the back. It's elegant. It's beautiful. It's amazing. But it's a huge pen. That's all I got to say about it. So I don't think I've even inked it. I'm pretty sure I have not inked this pen. Let me see. Nope. I've never even inked it because when I got it, I was so excited about it, but it just, I don't know. Something about it. I haven't used it. I'm not going to get rid of it. It's an IPO Franklin-Christoph. I'm keeping it. But I don't use it. So that kind of also feels like counterproductive when it comes to pens. Like, you got it, but you don't use it. So maybe one day soon I will ink it up. But it is, it's a beautiful pen. It's a beautiful display pen. I feel like it has some interesting features, you know, on it, in that it can stand on its, like, it has some interesting things about it. But yeah, it doesn't fit in this pen case. I have to lay it down on its side to fit it in there. But, you know, it's a Franklin-Christoph, and I have one, so I'm excited about that. Last but not least, for a little while, there was they used to have a pen maker there. His name was Jim Rouse. We loved him. A few years ago, he passed away at a pen show, actually. But he was an amazing soul. I mean, the kind of person that would sit down and talk to you for hours about your pen. He would look at how you hold your pen to know how to adjust your nib grind on your nib. He was just, I can't say enough good things about him. He was a great person. I don't know him outside of the pen world, so I can't say like what he was like in that part of his life, but in the fountain pen community, he was like a legend. So he used to work, before he worked for Franklin-Christoph, he worked for Schaefer Pen Company. And Schaefer discontinued a certain like line of their pens at one point, and they reached out to Jim and said, hey, we have all these nibs that we're not going to be using anymore. Do you want them? So he brought them into the Franklin-Christoph family. They made Franklin-Christoph bodies to go onto Schaefer pens, nib units. Without me having to give you an education on Schaefer, I'm just going to say it's a big freaking deal. So what he did is they got together and they made pen bodies that would fit on the nib unit of a Schaefer pen. And this is one of my absolute favorite pens. It writes exquisitely. You're not going to get a pen that writes like, pens just aren't made like this anymore. So there used to be a thing. I mean, if you all know the history of fountain pens used to be a thing where they were fountain pen salesmen. They would go around to different companies, organizations, primarily talking to the men, and they actually had a fountain pen called a PFM, a Schaefer PFM. If you can find yourself a Schaefer PFM and get it like restored and cleaned up, it's talk about a workhorse pen. Yeah, Schaefer's are top of the line in that. They have a long history. And so you're not gonna they just don't make pens like this anymore. So I feel really lucky to have this one that was restored. This body unit was restored and cleaned, and all the things by Jim. And I feel really, really honored to have one. So Oh, as I throw it across the room. So there's that. I should probably bring that out. I don't write with it often enough. Okay. That's enough pen talk. I think I'm going to talk more about pens on letter I day when I talk about ink, pen inks. Any questions for me about pens as I transition and take the last sort of 30-ish minutes to talk about fabric books and show some books that start with F's. Then says, how does the pressure in airplanes affect your pens and ink, or how do you manage this or that? Yeah, I feel like that question is coming from the person who has seen me get to the hotel and be like, oh my God, ink is everywhere. So I find that flying with pens that are piston fillers are the easiest, because remember what's happening in an airplane. Pressure is being increased. Okay, so you either need, no matter what kind of pen you're using, you either need that pen to be full completely, so there is no space for pressure to go, no space for air, or you want to have it where there's enough room for that air pressure to go. Like, think about what happens to a bottle of water when you're on the airplane. If the bottle is full, you don't really get a lot of whatever. But as soon as you open that bottle and drink some out of it, you've just made space for the pressure. And so you'll get off the plane and your bottle will be either sucked in or deflated out. Like it will do something. The pressure will do something. So fountain pens kind of work the same way. My best advice to people traveling with fountain pens, turn everything into a cartridge. And a cartridge is this the one I have? No, this one doesn't have a cartridge. Just going back, a cartridge is this. They're plastic. They're disposable. You can get 50 of these for $2. Like, they are cheapo. You don't have to worry about anything. So if I'm gonna fly, what I do is I take my pens and I get a fresh cartridge, and I just I don't put it in the pen. I just have my cartridges. I actually have like a little Altoids tin, and I have my cartridges in there. And then when I get to my destination, then I put my cartridge in. And when it's time to leave, I don't care if it's full or not. I take it out and I toss it. That's the best rule of thumb. Also, I think it matters how long you're going to be on the plane. How long is the pen going to be getting that pressure in the, a quick flight from here to Atlanta that is like less than 2 hours. I don't care. I don't worry so much. My pens don't really ever leak when I do that. The only time I've had a major problem is when we flew to Barcelona. I mean, that was like 16 hours of pressure on my pens. And I had not thought about that. At least I thought I had done all I needed to do. But anyway, I got there and there was leaking everywhere. So there's that. Okay. Oh, I also didn't say that about this white Lamy. Actually, I purchased that in Barcelona. This was one I bought in Barcelona. So that was a cool thing. Okay, so that's it for fountain pens for now. Unless y'all have questions for me, I can answer as I'm also showing and talking about books. So as you all know, maybe, if you've been kind of listening, following, paying attention to me and my creative journey. Now, see, talking about all these pens makes me want to just sit with my pens all day, make sure everything's clean, all the pens are clean, and ink up some new ones and all the things. But I'm going to shift to talking about books. So, hang on here. I think some of you might have heard me talk about the fact that I was going to be making more fabric books this year. That I was actually going to go back and look at books I've made during Book in a Day and see how I can't turn those into fabric books. If you've been following me for the last sort of year or so, you may have seen me as a teacher in Kate Ward's Zen Stitching community. I taught fabric books for her. Fun, functional fabric books is what I called them. And I taught these three, I think. Did I teach that third one? Hold on. Let me remember. Nope. I taught these three. in that class. And so I really love fabric books. I have been making fabric books because I consider canvas to be fabric. So I've been making fabric books for some time. This is not new for me. What's new for me is thinking about how I can go back to old structures I've made, reimagine them, and turn them into fabric books. That's new for me. So canvas for me, using raw canvas or duck cloth, whatever you've got, that really, that is really my jam. I have a lot of canvas journals. I just really love the feel of a canvas journal. So I will also show you. So, well, I'll stay with these first, and then I'll show you another. So this one, remember I talked about that red X? I told you I always put a little red X on things. It's kind of like my little signature thing. So there's that. So this one is actually, speaking of French link, this one is a French link stitch. So is this little guy, little French link stitch. And this one I made to showcase my favorite embroidery stitches, going back to yesterday, letter E. Remember I told you I love the seed stitch, so I put that one first because it's my favorite. And then the running stitch, cross stitch, couching, my favorite. I love couching. The fly stitch. Do you all know this stitch? It's so cute. It lets you use you get to like use two different colors, and it almost looks like these little birds flying off into the distance. I love that stitch. Ermine is basically like a star stitch. Sashiko, and I make a distinction between a running stitch and a sashiko stitch. Sashiko is more orderly, I feel. Running stitch can just kind of be running all over the place, pun intended. And then I still have some pages to add a few more on there. And then this was also one that I taught. That's just a basic pamphlet stitch. Just bring your pages together, fold them, put a stitch, a butterfly stitch down the middle, and you've got a little book. You don't have to do a lot to it. One of the lessons in that Zen stitching was stitching parabolas. And oh my God, I fell in love with stitching parabolas. It's very addictive. I need to make a few more. I have my little templates here from that class. And then I did an accordion fabric book. And I did this, and this is what I love about fabric books. Sometimes there's things you can do with the fabric book that you actually can't do with paper book. I mean, you can, but it doesn't have the same sort of finesse or loveliness about it. So I was able to take pieces of this indigo dyed fabric that I have and use that to stitch a joint together so that they have this look. I don't know. I just really love this. I don't know what I'm going to do with this one yet. But I really like that. So I did a little accordion one. And then I have a few others kind of primed and prepped for some things I want to do. I also just like looking at ways you can do different things with fabric books, right? So many different things you can do. Let me show a couple other fabric books here. Yeah, thank you, Amanda. I was like, what else do you do with fabric? Well, you stitch on it. Another thing that I love to do in terms of fabric books is just using fabric, as a covering element, right? So this is fabric on a hard cover, and of course y'all can't touch it and feel it, but there's that. There's my red X's again. So yeah, using fabric as the covering element is also something that I really love to do. Using fabric as, and y'all saw me make this book on, I don't remember what letter day this was. B. This was letter B day. So day 2 of this series, we made this book together. But using fabric as a spine element, using fabric as a labeling element, using fabric as your wrap, right? So to me, all of these things. Then here's one of my little heirloom journals. So a fabric cover, right? Patchworking different pieces of fabric and making a fabric cover. Right, so there's that as well. So, you know, for me, fabric books have a huge what am I looking for here? They have a huge, like, I think there's a lot of beautiful ways we can work with them. I thought I had one additional one in this drawer right here with me. Hold on one second, y'all. Let me scan the room. Oh, the other one I'm looking for. Hold, please. Well, I thought. Well, I had one other one I was going to show. Oh. So crazy, pants. It's like I'll take things out in preparation for these calls, and it's like they get shuffled. Again, using fabric as an element on your paper journals as well. For me, it adds like a little level of sturdiness to it. So there's that. See what that little piece of. Oh, I was like, what is that? Okay. Okay. Also, needle books are basically fabric books, right? I showed you all this one the other day with the embroidery conversation, but I mean, this is fabric, right? Fabric and felt to make a needle book. That's another great use of them. And then the next one I'm going to show you is not a book that I made. It was gifted to me by Kate Ward, actually. But I love this thing. Like, this was a little gift she gave me as a thank you gift for teaching. And I love it. First of all, it's got this beautiful sashiko stitching on it. But it also, like, I can slip a little journal in there. So even just like a little, I can, you know, I just think it's such a good functional little thing here. And then she put in a little zipper. So like even doing things like this with your fabric books, I think can be, you know, treating it as a cover piece. Now I could, because I'm a bookbinder, I could stitch papers into there if I wanted to, but I actually like it as this like cover where I can make a journal and slide it in there and have the journal and maybe some bits and bobs in there and a wrap on it. So yeah, so I think, you know, fabric books can do all of that. So French link, I kind of showed and talked about French link there. I'm going to show the flower fold book really quick. By really quick, I mean, give me a second. The very first flower fold book I've ever done. And let me say this, flower fold books is a category of bookbinding structures. This is not the only one that falls in that category. I have lots of flower fold books This is one type of a flower fold book, just to be clear. And some people would even call this more of a napkin fold, but I think it still falls under that flower fold. So this was one I did during Book in a Day 2013. And I've taught it in other ways too, and I'm actually going to be teaching it again this year in PPP. But this one was book number, let's see, did I put which number it was? Nope, I did it on January 10th though, so you can probably go back to my Book in a Day series if you want to find that. January 10th, 2013 was when I did this one. So that flower fold, to me, anything that like opens up like it's blossoming is a flower fold book. Okay. So that's one. That was the very first one that I did for Book in a Day. I had done them previous to, like, you know, when I was doing the MFA program. We learned how to do these. So flowerful. And then I did another one. I don't remember what I did this one for. Probably just because I needed somewhere to put papers. This to me is a really great structure for working with your jelly plate prints and your abstract painting papers and your scrap bits. This is a really good one for that. So to me, anything that just kind of opens up like this is that flower fold energy. Okay. Now, there are lots of ways to reimagine this book, but then this is one that I taught in Ivy Newport's Studio Works community maybe 2 years ago. I taught this one in her flower. She had a flower class, and I did like a little bonus lesson doing abstract flowery things. I showed 3 different ways to bring your flowers into this journal, and then I did a whole page of like abstracty flowers, and they became this flower fold book. And I showed people how to make that little flower garden for themselves. So I love a good sort of origami style. This would definitely fall any folded books fall under that origami sort of origami style. Oh, thank you, Amanda. Yeah, those are my flower fold books. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm gonna find one more thing to show you. I'm just going to bring the whole box of Book in a Day books over here so I don't have to, so I can talk to you while I do this. Go ahead and bring that one out to talk about. Let's see. Yesterday I was talking about the book I made that had it was a canvas book. This is also to me a fabric book, but it's the same thing I showed you, just a stitch. But this was one that I did where I cataloged all the stamps that I owned at that time. Most of these I no longer own. But they are definitely ones I can look back and go, oh yeah, I remember I had that one with the basket of eggs. Yeah, that. So anyway, this was my little stamp catalog. And when I look back on this, I'm like, oh my God, the amount of time it took me to go through and stamp all of these for that Book in a Day book. This was probably by far one of my longest Book in a Day books. Because I was stamping every single one of these on this thick canvas that I had sprayed with, like, I don't know, probably distress inks or something. And oh my God, stamping on canvas is not as easy as you might think. And those of you who've done it, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I was trying to do like a little catalog of all my stamps. And whoo-wee. I love looking back at it, but boy, it took me some time. It did. All right, let's see if I can find what I'm looking for here. Is this the one I'm thinking about? Nope. Well, it was a good idea at the time when I thought about it. Let's move on to the French door book because I can't find that other flower fall I'm looking for. If I come across it, I'll bring it back up. But here's a French door book. And this one, what number was this one? This was February 7th, 2023, number 6 in the series of Book in a Day. And so a French door book is like, think about French doors in a house, right? Like they open, you know, it's like 2 doors that open out. Sometimes they slide, but that idea of French doors, it's not just one door. The beauty of a French door book, though, is that you can have multiple conversations going on. So this particular book was about symbolism. I called it Her Story. Got this ankh on the front. And it is this idea that I can be having one conversation going on one side of the book and another conversation happening here. But then there's a third conversation between the 3. Right? So if I don't move this and I just go, her beauty, her perseverance. And so these are Adrinka symbols. Her learning from the past. Right? So I didn't do a lot of them, but I did several. Over here, I could do the same thing. A story of endurance or an endurance story. Your freedom story. And then this one kind of faded in the background there, but it's the Sankofa one. Your story of returning and getting it. But then there's this third conversation happening across. Right? What's the story of endurance and beauty? Why does the word endurance keep coming up for us, y'all? And I said for us, maybe it's just coming up for me. I don't know. But this is the 3rd time endure or endurance has come up in the last 24 hours. There's something there. I'm going to have to sit with that. Yeah, so there's a whole story happening there, like freedom and beauty. What's the story in that? Returning and getting it in beauty. What is that, right? So you see how the French door book allows for conversations. When I taught way before Book in a Day, I taught a workshop when I was, not a workshop, a class, when I was probably in like my 5th or 6th year of teaching. And in that class, I developed this process that I call dialogue journals, where I would have 2 students journaling with each other, and one would have one side and one would have the other, and they would dialogue back and forth. And oh my gosh, they loved it. They would be like, can we work in our dialogue journals today? And it was just this beautiful thing. And so the French door book, when I learned this was years later that I learned this particular structure. But I think it just, speaks to that. So there's that. Okay. Then next we'll talk. I have a few other. I actually did a whole project with another poet as a part of our final project where we did a French door structure. We both wrote poems, and we had a theme. Can't remember. I think it was maybe like we gave different categories, and we each wrote poems separately. Then we brought them together into this book. And it was amazing to see how the conversation that our poems were having with each other, that we were having with each other through our poems. It was amazing, amazing, amazing. Okay. Let me see here. It's so fun for me to go back through these books. You don't even know. But of course, not finding the one I want to find, a little frustrating. Okay, so last but not least, I'll show you Flexagon books. What else did I have on this list? Fan book, Flexagon, French door. Okay, this one was also book in a day. I used a bunch of stencils from Stencil Girl at the time. I was on their Stencil Girl design team, so I used a bunch, and I want to say that most of these were from Mary Nasser, was the designer. But a Flexagon book does a funny magical thing, right? So open it up, keep flipping it over, open it up again. So they have a Flexagon has this ability to flex into two books, basically. And I love that about it. All right, so that's one style of Flexagon. And then later, let's see, I think I did this one first, and I don't know if I put a colophon on it. I didn't. So I don't remember when this one was in the series, but I'm pretty sure it was maybe first. Then this one is also a Flexagon, but it's a circle Flexagon. And so it does more things. All right, so it's boom, 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 and boom. So I love a good Flexagon. I feel like I've taught both of these in Artsy Meetup at some point over the last 8 or 9 years of Artsy Meetup. But maybe it's time to bring them back. We'll see. And then flag books. I don't have the actual flag book that I want to really show you. Oh, yes, I do. Darn it. I said flag book. Sorry, I do. I have the flag book I want to show. But I also want to show what I call a fan book. So a book that kind of fans out like this. Let's see if I can find the beginning of this whole, please. Where is my first page? Huh. Well, okay. Maybe I don't have a first page. All right, we're not going to worry about the first page. I wanted to do it from the very beginning of it, but I'm not finding my first page in here. So any book that kind of, oh, here it is. Any book that fans out can be called a fan book. And the way you clip it together, you could use, like I have done here, a 3-ring mechanism, or you could use one of those things that's like a post. You put a post in it and it screws on the bottom, and then the book doesn't open traditional, it fans out. And so that's a fan book. So this particular one was called 20 Ways of Talking to Your Poem, and I give 20 different it says oh, I can barely see. I'm looking for the colophon. There it is. 20 Ways of Talking to Your Poem is book 10 in the Book in a Day series. Using the fan book structure, each lead card has a suggestion for a way to revise or revision your poetry or your creative work. And it goes on to talk about how I have it structured. Now, originally, I think I did have a post on this, and for whatever reason, it now has a ring. But the idea is that you can't really, like with a ring, you can change the order. But with a fan book, you're working with a fixed order in some ways. And so that fixed order lends itself to you coming up with content in that book that can actually serve in sort of always being in that order, right? So it's a lot to think about as a book artist, as someone engineering the book. So a fan book is just that. It's a book that you can fan it, you know, kind of fan it out like that. So it's not that much more than that. This is not a traditional flag book, but this is a kind of flag book. And this is actually a made up structure that I made up. I intended this to be a flag book, a traditional flag book. And then, listen, things got crazy. I think we were traveling this weekend, going to a writing retreat that I was going to be leading. And I just ran out of time. And I was like, okay, I don't have time to make this a true fan book. So I'm going to do something different. So, but it still is in that family of fan books. Or I keep saying flag books. And so again, this is another one where you can have multiple conversations going on inside the book because things flap and move and unfold and go different directions. Like it has its own thing. So this was me. This was genius is born out of limitations, right? I was like, I got to hurry up and go. I don't have time let me see what I can do. I don't have time to figure out how to put them all in a little line and make a flag book with it. So I took everything I know about flag books and turned it into this. I probably should give this some sort of name, but I haven't. But this is, yeah, so this is one sort of version of what a flag book can be. But it's the idea of having different strips and pieces that make up the flag book structure. Okay. All right, loves. Talked about fountain pens, fabric books, French link, fold, flower fold, flexagon, fan book, flag book, French door, French knots we didn't talk about, but I think we talked about, I showed you French knots yesterday. I'm really bummed that I can't find that other flower fold book that I wanted y'all to see. I'm bummed by that. Hold on, I'm looking around to see if maybe I just missed it. But I don't think I did. I think I just don't know where it is. Oh. Ask and you shall receive. Look at that. Okay, this is another flower fold book. I did this one. I don't remember. Let's see, what book was this in the series? Why do I not have my glasses in here right now? I think that says the 11th book. And this one was called The ABCs of Creativity. And it is this lovely flower fold structure. So people have, in modern times, given this other names, but it's the flower fold book is what this is called. And I love, like, again, it's that blooming, that opening, that blossoming is where it gets its name from. And so when I spread this all the way out, you can see the words creativity, C-R-E-A-T-I, creative in there. And then I went and I did, like I'm doing now. If you cannot tell, I have a love affair with ABCs and all things ABCs. So again, this was another ABC experiment. So every word in here is what I think is necessary for creative life. And it starts with, each one starts with the letter of the alphabet. So you have to have an attitude of creativity. You have to have balance, community, dedication. So I did one for each letter of the alphabet. And I'm noticing this book has been, see, this is, so when people talk about, oh, is it archival? Is that glue archival? This is what they mean, right? The fact that this is coming undone here means my glue has released. So that's what we mean by art. You want something to be archival. You want it to stay as long as it can possibly stay. So yeah, so that's my flower fold. That's an example of a flower fold book. So I had the last two things I had on here. I think I'll save. I can probably bring them up in another conversation. Flaps and flip outs and faces. One thing I'll say about faces really quick is it is my nemesis. It's my struggle point as an artist. I go back and forth with like making faces. I think some of my favorite faces I've ever done, if I'm being honest, is I took a class with Deb Weirs. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing Deb's last name right. I'm sure many of you know her. These are some of my favorite faces that I've ever drawn after taking that class with her. And I'm pretty sure I still have access to this lesson. I should probably just go back and watch it again. Because even though I used her style and her technique, they don't look anything like her faces necessarily. This one maybe does. It has some of her things that she does in there because, you know, I was learning from her. So I was trying to do what the teacher was doing and telling me to do. But oh my gosh, these are some of my favorite faces that I've made. But I have a whole stack of faces. I've been practicing faces, but here's the thing. I'm not consistent. And we talked about this in letter day C. If you're not consistent, you're never going to get as good as you want to get because you're not consistent, right? Try not to be frightened by this face that I'm going to put here. This was one that I started working on in a workshop, an in-person workshop with Ardith Goodwin. And she wasn't really teaching us a particular thing or a particular technique. But there's so much about this face that I love. And also a lot of things where I'm like, oh, girl, you got a long way to go. Right. But also she was not really ever finished. I never came back to her. I ran out of time during the workshop. I didn't get to come back to her. But I feel I keep her out and she's on my thing and I keep her out because I feel like she's a reminder to me, you know. I spent like a good day and a half on just working on her and learning things like, you know, where to put shadow and playing with light and, you know, where do I want more light and less light and balance and thickness of paint. Like I played with a lot of different things on this one face for hours. And she's also the painting that reminds me, I don't know that I like spending hours on one painting. Like I don't know that I'm in that space of being able to really appreciate what that looks like. I see artists who do it. Ivy Newport is one of my favorite artists in the world, and she spends time getting her eyes just so and getting her, you know, all of the shading exactly the way she wants it. And her art reflects that. It reflects the time and attention that she gives to it. So yeah, this is also a good reminder of me of just like, what kind of artist do you want to be, Kyla? Like, you know, so there's a lot wrapped up into this little face here, but I am constantly, well, we might as well do faces. Let's go ahead and just talk faces. Okay, hold on. I'm going to take out a stack. I have a stack of faces over here that I've had. Hold on, let me put some things away. I know it went blurry on you. I'll bring it back in a second here. I just want to show, like, also this is my own personal, right? Like the whole point of this series is for me to share my journey in hopes that it will either inspire some of you or remind some of you to really stay the course, stay with it. Don't give up. Don't stop. All right. Oh, thank you, Linda. Thank you, Suzanne. Hi, Suzanne. Christy says, I took that Deb Weirs class. Mine are some of my favorite faces too. Yeah, mine look different too. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like the sign of a really great teacher, in my opinion, is a teacher who can show you what they do, teach you exactly what they do, and your stuff still looks like you. Still has your hand and your energy in it. Like that's really beautiful. So I'm going to just show you. I don't have these dated. Not all of them. Some of them are dated. So I don't know when, and you know, but I can tell you this is one of my first early faces. Here's another. Look at those eyes. They are wide. Pew. Right. But again, she wasn't meant to be realistic. Like, look at her body. There's nothing about her that's supposed to be realistic, right? Here's one I did in 2013. I was trying to understand and learn shading and learn how value works and pencil and all the things. I don't remember when this one was. I can't believe I'm even showing y'all these. They are so horrible. I mean, okay, let me back up. When I say horrible, they are not what I wish they were. They don't look the way I wish they looked. They don't look the way I set out for them to look. But I also love them. So don't get me wrong when I say they're horrible. What I mean is I notice every single thing that I was trying to do that I didn't achieve, but I also see what I did really well, you know? Um, like this was one of my best noses that I had ever done and maybe have ever done up to this point. So please don't misunderstand me when I'm making this comment about my art. I love every single part of my journey. I love every single piece of art that I have made. I am not disparaging my own art. I just want to make sure. The reason I'm saying this is like I can't believe that I am being vulnerable enough right now to even show these on a video that I know is gonna stay online until I take it down, right? So I'm just noticing that. I'm just noticing that. Let's see some others here. I don't remember when I did that one, but again, still trying to figure out like how do you make eyes again? Um, there's another. Now, for whatever reason, I like to do this thing where I will name the faces of the people. Like this is Maxine. I don't know if I gave this one a name. But I started doing this thing where I would name them. I give them names. So this is Phoebe. Look at that bottom lip. It almost looks like she's sticking her tongue out. You gotta love it. But also, I'm noticing what I really loved about her. I loved what I did with her hair. I thought I did a great job on her hair. I thought I did a great job on those upper eyelids. You know what I mean? Like I notice what I love and what I see that's, you know, really well done. This is Joy. And I was like, ooh, I like what I did with Joy's nose. It is not proportioned to her face at all, but I like it. um, this is Skylar. I loved her earrings. I was like, look at me rocking her earrings. I like that. This is Lyra. Love what I did with her little poofy braid. Thought I did a good job on her lips as well. Right. So I noticed the things that I really like about these faces that I think I've done, that I think and feel I have done well. This, oh, this says 2013. I think this was with a lesson with Jane Davenport, maybe. She likes to do that kind of flowy mermaidy thing. I feel like that's what this was. It was supposed to be learning colored pencils. And yeah, I did a whole lot of something with this fulcrum, this little nose. What's it called here? That little piece. Ooh, that's pretty pronounced in her face there. I was trying something new with the little chin thing, right? Like even when I look back at all of them, I can remember what things I was trying to learn about them. You know what I mean? Trying to learn through doing them. So faces are something I struggle with, though, clearly. And also, I don't practice. Can I just name that? I don't practice. So I can't really say I want to get good at it if I'm not practicing. I don't practice. I didn't name her. But look at this. Look at that braid. That's a good braid. I like it. Look at that. I'm proud of that braid. And got a little rubber band on the bottom. I'm proud of that. Right? Even though I might not like her face so much. And I see all the, like, what is happening here? She got handlebar nose, nostrils. I don't know what's going on there. But you see what I'm saying? Like, I can see the growth. Then I started finding artists that I really love and taking workshops with them and learning from them. So I followed a YouTube tutorial that Karen Campbell did, and I made that face. She's very much my style. She got some thick eyebrows, this one, but I realized, oh, I really like drawing women with their eyes closed because then I don't have to figure out how to make those pupils look right and blah, blah, blah. Her name is Janae. This was a tutorial. Let's see. Um, oh, I think this was a tutorial from somebody in the Let's Face It classes that Kara Bullock runs. This was in 2020. I named her Holly, and it was my very first time trying to do a profile, like a side profile. I love how crazy it looks. I don't know. She looks pouty mouth. I don't know. But anyway, that's her. Um, this one was freehand from no reference. I put freehand, no reference photo. She got some serious things going on with her eyelashes, huh? Whew, yeah. Her name's Lacey, but I love her. I think I did a good job. I mean, she's all cattywampus. She's not at all like proportionate or whatever. But again, I was doing this freehand, no reference, and I feel darn good about that, right? Like that to me is a huge difference from this freehand, no reference. You see, I see growth in those, and so so I'm noticing that. Then I found Danielle Mack, and I did a tutorial by Danielle Mack, and I really love that. Again, very much Danielle Mack energy with the earrings. She taught me some things about noses that I hadn't understood before. She taught me some things about eyes that helped me get eyes that look a little bit better. I mean, I think I could have brought those a little closer together. I went crazy pants with the eyelashes, and I started to realize with this one, I have a thing about eyelashes, and I'll have to talk about that another day. But I do have I hate to use the word condition because not really a condition. That sounds so like, oh, you've got a condition. It's like the adult version of pica. Do y'all know pica when kids like to eat their hair? Now, I don't eat my hair. Let's be clear. Let's say that out of the gate. But it is very much it's the adult version of that. I will pluck my eyelashes out and I don't even realize that I plucked them out. And I'll look back and I'm like, oh my God, I have a whole huge gap missing from my eyelashes, right? And so I think I have this thing about eyelashes, and I notice that in things that I draw, of how I handle eyelashes. Right, here's another one where I handle eyelashes just like all of it's like tons of eyelashes. But this is what I meant on that first day when I said I can see people's struggles. I can see their shadow in the things that they draw, right? Because we can't hide from ourselves. We can't hide from ourselves. So if we sit down and start having conversations with our art, we will start to know things about ourselves, realize things. We'll start to see our own patterns. We'll start to see the places where we are struggling and where we are maybe even suffering in some ways, right? And we can start to change and shift and morph that, right? So I just want to name that because, yeah, I said it about being able to see it in other people's art, but I also can see it in my own art, right? I really can. And so and the reason I can see it in my own art is because I zoom out a lot. I zoom out. I write about what I'm doing. I write about what I'm seeing. And some people don't want to be that serious with their art. They just want to slap things down and and go and just crank things out. They don't want to sit with their art, and that's okay. I'm not judging that. There's no shade being thrown on that. All I'm saying is, when we take that extra step to really sit down and look at our patterns and our behaviors and things that we repeat over and over again, we can learn so much about ourselves. So a couple more here. I was trying to learn about value scales and shading. You can see I did some serious erasing in there. Like you can tell that that's what I was trying to learn here. But let me tell you something. Those earrings are banging. I wish I had if you ever see a pair of earrings like this, please get them for me. I'll send you the money. I think I rocked those earrings. I made them up. I think I rocked it. I think I did a pretty darn good job on the nose too. Digging the shape of her eyes. I'm loving how much depth I got in there. Like I can see the things that I did really well, you know. I also am like, man, that's some 5 o'clock shadow she got on her face over here. Like I can also see that. And if we cannot be honest with ourselves about our art in that way. It's not about disparaging it. It's not about like I mean, at some point we do have to judge things. We have to go, okay, this looks better than that, and here's why. If you want to get better, then you have to be willing to go, okay, I see what I did there. I like that. What did I do? How do I repeat that in other pieces? Oh, I really like this nose. What do I like about it? Like, you have to judge it against something. If you're not doing that, then you're not really ever going to be able to sit with you're never really going to be able to grow and see your growth. Like, even as I'm looking through these with you all, I can see my growth, right? Sometimes I forget that and these aren't even all of my face paintings. Damon, I don't know if you're still on right now listening, but can you bring one of the girls that's in our little meditation area, if you can? I don't even know if I can get her under the camera, but it's kind of big, but we'll see. Then I watched one more, another person I did a tutorial from. Her name is Penny Stamper. I think her real name is Angela. I can't remember her last name, but Penny Stamper, I think she goes by all over the place. So I watched a tutorial by her, and I did that face. And oh my gosh, how much I love this mouth that I did. Thank you, babe. I love how I was able to get so much expression in this face. This woman has a story to tell, right? Like, I can see it. And then I did another tutorial by her. And I love what I did with the mouth there. And I can see her cheeks look puffy and rounded, like looks like she has definite, and I can tell, like, oh, how did I achieve that? I mean, I did some shading work to achieve that. I mean, yeah, I got some other craziness going on here too, but I'm looking at what I did well, right? Or like what I'm really digging and really liking. So I think that it is, yeah, so there's that. Okay, and then I'll show one last set of faces here. This was, and I don't even know if I can get these in here without them being like super big in your face, but this was a workshop that I went to in person with Jennifer Stone. 3 years ago, maybe. Ooh, time flies, y'all. Maybe 3, I think. I don't know. Might have been 2. But we did collage work, and oh my gosh, she's not finished, but look at her. I love her. I absolutely adore her. She's not, every time I tell people she's not done, they're like, oh my gosh, she's so done, Kyla. Leave her. She's good. And I'm sorry I can't get all of her in the photo or in the camera here, but I just adore her. I think I love what I did with her hair. Like, she's just awesome. I adore her. And then her counterpart, her sister friend that was with her. So actually I did this one first. Ooh, she's not gonna fit in there because she is huge. Sorry. Yeah, I'll have to do a photo maybe and send to you or show y'all sideways. You can kind of see. So she was actually the first original sigil girl that I did, where I started putting these little sigils in their faces. And then I have a whole series of sigil girls that I've done that are black and white. They're not collage like this. But yeah, so, the journey is the journey. Let the journey unfold. Be where you are today. Don't give up. Stay consistent. Endure, endure, endure. That's what I got. That's what I got. And I have a ton more. Like, that's just and when I think about it, I'm like, I'm always drawing faces, but I'm not consistent. I will sit down and I'll have like a couple of weeks where I'm like drawing faces. And then I'll get kind of frustrated with myself. If I'm being honest, I'll get frustrated and then I give up. And I don't want to say I give up. I put it to the side. And then I'll come back another time and then I'll start again. And here's the thing. This is something I learned from my yoga teacher when I was going through teacher certification to become a yoga teacher. She said, Kyla, there are people who are weekend warriors. Don't be a weekend warrior. Because if you're a weekend warrior, you have to start over every Saturday. And what she meant by that is if the only time you do yoga is on the weekends, you're always going to be starting over every Saturday. You have to be consistent. You have to have a practice that is more consistent than just Saturday and Sundays I do yoga. because every Saturday you're starting over. And that is true in our art. I'm like, so every time I sit down to start drawing faces again, I'm starting over. I'm starting over. And I mean, it may not be as that drastic. I see you, Suzanne. You said, oh no, I'm a weekend warrior. Um, but I think we can take from that and go, all right, like sometimes it does feel like if you let too much time go by that you're starting over, you know? So I'm gonna leave y'all with that. And I'm gonna go find me some food to eat because I haven't had food today. I had a little bit of apple, but I can feel my belly grumbling and rustling about. So I'm going to uh, say thank you all for being here. Thank you for showing up. I haven't scheduled my next few yet, but I'll get those scheduled tonight. And I will be on every day this month. I hope you all keep coming back and hanging out with me. Thank you to those of you who were here today. Thank you for all your kind comments in the chat, and your encouragement and your love. Um, it is really an honor to be able to even have people show up who want to be in conversation with me. So please know that I am grateful. I do not take it lightly. Even if only one other person shows up here, I am grateful. So thank you all so, so much. And I look forward to seeing you in all the places and spaces. And I'll see you tomorrow, if not before. Bye. Have a great eclipse tomorrow. Don't be fearful. I'm going to talk about the eclipse tomorrow too. Okay. See y'all tomorrow. Bye.